biohacking, performance, mastery, mindset. This is a show about getting better every single day. The Hack Life with Joel Levin. Welcome to the show.
All right. Hey, welcome to the show. I'm here with my good friend, Kelly O'Keefe. She has a background in health, fitness, and massage therapy, and now you are shining lasers on people's heads and bodies. How did you fall into this kind of work?
Yes, well, thank you for having me here, Joel. I'm excited to be here. Well, I have a background in psychology, a BA, and when I was younger, in my early 20s, wasn't ready to go on and get my MFT or anything like that. Just felt like I was too young. And in my head, I thought, I'm going to circle back to this one in my 30s. So here we are in my 30s.
And the 30s came by very quickly,
it
by the
did
way.
come very quickly for both of us, huh?
Yeah.
And I was doing something that was a little bit outside of health and wellness, wasn't really enjoying it, and came across this job description of a guy that was doing something different with pain management. So I met with him, was hired on the spot, and was working with a laser treating pain in the body. And eventually we can talk about laser on the brain and treating the brain.
So you see an ad in the paper. What kind of ad does it say? I mean, I'm curious how you were even attracted to this job description. Like, what gravitated you to it?
It was very vague, actually, and it didn't mention the laser at all, interestingly enough.
Of course.
And it just said, if you like to help people get out of pain, if you've had a background in massage therapy, you'd be perfect for this job. It's in Santa Monica. I live in Santa Monica, so the thought of being in LA and not having to commute and walk to work was looking really good to me.
Okay, so talk to me. Walk me through what it was like your first day. What did you learn about this laser? Because you and I, nobody knows this. You and I have talked extensively, and you've had some amazing results with this laser. And as you know, like, I'm a biohacker,
Yep.
I'm a health coach, a life coach, and I am very into all these modalities and just really alternative modalities that can help people get better. And I really don't believe that there's, for example, diseases. You know, the medical professionals, they label people, and you have this disease, you have MS, you have Parkinson's,
Yep.
you have Alzheimer's. And I really feel like it just confines somebody to that identity,
I agree.
and they can't get out. So that's why I'm such a proponent of these other modalities, but you never hear about them. You know, I mean, I know for me, I grew up, with Kaiser, and that on the West Coast is that's just your typical standard care. You go in, you get your flu shots, you get whatever, and the doctors, in my opinion, just are very limited. So so talk to me about how you got involved. I mean, I know obviously you got involved with laser, but like, what was your first day like at the clinic?
Yeah, so we have to do online training course. So there's a big safety factor with the laser, which was the most part of the online training. So the laser, if we were to hold it on someone's skin more than a few seconds without moving it, this laser would burn you.
Really?
Yes. So it is a very powerful
How close
laser.
will you get a laser to someone's skin?
We're usually about 12 inches away. You can go a little bit closer. It just depends.
And the closer you get, the more penetration.
No, same amount of penetration. It doesn't matter how far. We do have a contraption that has it's called a roller ball that actually attaches onto the end of the laser. Doesn't get as hot, but it goes on the person's skin. So that's if someone has a lot of fatty tissue maybe on their low back and they have sciatic pain. It can roll some of the fat away so the laser can penetrate farther. So if you get the roller ball, you're a little bit heavier.
That you're pushing fat out of the way.
Yeah, and then the laser is penetrating in.
So we have a hack for people that are
Yes,
overweight.
exactly.
Okay,
I know
thank
you love
God.
that.
So that's cool. So actually you just mentioned something, sciatica.
Yes.
I run into constant people that have issues with sciatica. And
Yeah, so
I'm a police officer as well.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
The sciatic nerve runs to the back. I always tell people to do a pigeon stretch.
Yep, which is good.
That's good, but I wouldn't say that's the end-all, be-all of everybody.
Yeah,
So
for sure. So with sciatic pain, people feel shooting pain down the back of their legs. We don't laser the back of the leg. We laser the nerve root. So we're lasering the low back and the vertebrae there. So something is touching the vertebrae and it's causing inflammation. So the body's inflamed and the person feels pain. So along with the nerves, We are helping the body create its own anti-inflammatory response because the laser penetrates about 1.5 inches into the body. And
What's it feel like when someone's
it
getting
feels
a
like
laser treatment? Does it just
a
feel
blow
nice and-
dryer. So what it is a hot laser. So we are constantly moving the laser on the person's body. And we have a very high-powered laser, so it's pretty warm. So we also, as a laser technician, have a fan that we're fanning at the same time. So it literally does feel like a blow dryer. Now, people can get too hot, and it is in charge of the patient. And we tell them every single time they come in to say it's getting too hot. At that point, the laser tech just stops, pauses, the body cools down a little bit, and we start up again. So on my first day, a little nervous because we jump right into it, but there's a lot of
That's the only way.
practical application.
Yes.
I know. So the doctor kind of just hands you the laser, and you practice with him beforehand, of course, and on the other laser technicians.
Yeah.
And so as long as he feels confident, you're not going to hurt anyone. And I don't think we've burned anyone. I haven't, at least.
God,
So,
that's a good
yeah,
plug
that would
for
not
you
feel
guys.
good at all.
That's good.
Causing pain in the pain management clinic.
Now, real quick, what's the doctor that you work for? What's his background, and how did he get into this?
Yeah, so he is a former anesthesiologist. So he, for 20 years, was on the East Coast in the operating room, and then he also had a small pain management clinic where he was prescribing medication and opioids and all that. And now he's the opposite of what he does back then. He was also giving epidurals, where he does no epidurals. He does zero prescribing. He can't even prescribe in California because he doesn't want people even asking him to prescribe medication. All he does is the laser, and how he fell into it is an interesting story. His wife, who is a dog lover, the dog's back leg was hurt. The dog was limping. Dog went to the veterinarian and got some doggy laser, came home and was walking better.
Wow.
So the doctor said, well, what happened to the dog? He said, doggy laser. And he's like, well, the dog's like a human body. I'm going to look into this laser thing. So he looked into it. He found that the laser's FDA approved. There's actually a lot of them out there. It's not as well known, but a lot of chiropractors and physical therapists have lasers. They just tend to be a lower powered laser than the one that Dr. Kraft invested in. And he invested in a laser and sharing an office part-time with another doctor. Worked on his hip. He had bursitis, fixed his bursitis, and he said, well, if it's going to be working on me, it's going to be working on other people too.
So bursitis, arthritis,
Yep.
are those like common?
Yeah, anything
common
inflammation, frozen shoulders, we get that a lot, and we get a lot of spines. So people who have herniated discs, that's a pretty big thing that we get and common in our office.
And somebody with a herniated disc, I mean, how long does it take for them to heal, or do they heal?
Yeah, so some people get total pain relief. Other people get minimal. The statistics we see all the time is about 7 out of 10 people get good to great pain relief, and about 3 out of 10 get little or none. So I've seen some people come in that have what's called a failed back, which means they had back surgery and they still have pain or even more pain than before they went in. And that's a lot more common than people think. Most people do want to avoid surgeries, and for the people that get it, it's just awful to come out of a surgery, which is pretty harsh on the body, and still have pain. But I've watched people come in, and the laser fixed the pain.
In just one treatment?
No, I'm sorry. So back to your number of treatments. Something, if someone's had a pain for a long time, it's chronic pain, and then maybe they've had it for 10 or 20 years, they may have to come in for about 15 to 20 treatments. If someone has tennis elbow or they have just, a minor injury, they may see results within 3 to 6 treatments. So
That's not bad at
pretty
all.
much after 6 to 8, if you're not getting any pain relief at all, we say, sorry, see you later. Why don't you go try another modality? Because it's after he kind of has an idea. We see about 40 patients a day now.
Wow.
So he's in his 5th year of practice. So it's just kind of tried and true with all the people that he's seen. If we go in above 10 treatments and you're not getting pain relief, we usually tell the people that we won't treat them anymore.
Which is pretty cool, I think, for him to do, right? We were talking before offline just about how certain doctors or gurus really just believe wholeheartedly in their craft.
Sure.
And only their craft can heal you.
Sure.
And we were even saying, some of these healers won't even recommend you to other healers when it's probably the right thing to do.
Yep.
And they want you just to do their thing. And I think that's pretty admirable and just honest and full of integrity that he does that. And he understands, like, hey, this really works for most people, but not everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really good. Yeah. So I've currently been doing outreach to personal injury lawyers because after a car accident or a slip and fall, the laser is phenomenal for. So a lot of people have soft tissue issues, we call them, afterwards, and the laser is great with inflammation. So a lot of people's bodies are inflamed. We see same success rate in those patients as well. So it's pretty much the human body is the human body, and if your cells accept the laser, which is light, the photon energy, and can and let me go back and explain what the laser does. So when it penetrates the body,
talk to me about what the laser is actually doing to the body,
Yeah,
because I
so-
know a lot of biohackers are into these red light panels, you know, and they have like a 60 nanometer wavelength or an 850 wavelength, and it has, you know, certain healing effects, but I know obviously each wavelength does something different, and I couldn't tell you what it is. I
Yeah.
want to say it like it raises AMP kinase or something. It's some kind of
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
helping at you're exactly right. It's helping at a
Thank
cellular
you.
level.
I'm exactly right. Yeah.
I know. It helps at a cellular level. So it's the light energy is going into the cell, and it's going into the mitochondria, and it's exciting the mitochondria to create its own anti-inflammatory response. So
Talk
it's
to me
pretty-
really quick about
yeah.
mitochondria, because some people might not know. I've read some good books on it, but not everybody might know about what mitochondria is. It might be a new word for some.
Yeah, so it's part of the cell. It's passed down by the mother. So we tell a lot of people if they get healed from the laser to thank their mom. If they don't, sorry, mom.
Blame your mom.
you're out. No Mother's Day
Yeah.
gift. Yeah. So so it's exciting the mitochondria to give off that anti-inflammatory response. So that's part of it.
Yeah, and the mitochondria, the way I always dumb it down for
Yeah.
people is they're the power plants of our cells.
Yeah.
They are what gives us energy and life.
Yeah.
And if your mitochondria is broken or
Yes.
wrong, you probably have
Exactly.
autoimmunity and issues. And your mitochondria does your best to protect you and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and if
But
it's not creating the ATP like it's supposed to be, that's
Yes.
what the laser is technically doing. Is it's exciting it to work properly and do what it's supposed to do. The body is supposed to heal itself, so the laser is just helping the body heal itself.
It's interesting too, though, because the body is trying to protect us.
Yep.
So I have this device called a newbie, and I'm starting to do my practitioner work as well. And it's just interesting because, for example, people they get hurt, right, and they ice their injuries. So real quick before I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent, but
Yeah.
what about that? People icing injuries. What do you think about that? Good, bad?
Yeah, right after an injury, yes, ice.
Okay.
But then when they're getting the laser, if the injury isn't new, we say whatever feels good to you, heat or ice.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
So there's this one practitioner, Kelly Starrett. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a big mobility guru guy. He's affiliated with CrossFit, and he actually says no ice. And maybe I'm paraphrasing him wrong because it might be for specific injuries, right? But it's just interesting when you think about it. The body is making inflammation. It's swelling up tissue for a certain reason, right? Our bodies are smart. They're doing this. They've been doing this for years and years and years. So, and I kind of asked myself, why do we put ice on something if that's the body's natural inflammation response? So, the body is supposed to make this inflammation, right, in order kind of to protect
Sure,
us.
it's giving you the knowledge that something's wrong, right?
Yes. So, like for me with the newbie device, this inflammation occurs, or the body goes into this fight or flight state to protect you from danger. Like, hey, don't walk that way again. You just rolled your ankle, so we create this inflammation, and we might even tell you that there's pain here, so that you don't walk that way because we're trying to protect the ankle. However, what I've learned is that the body might stay in this state for a longer period of time. The brain might kind of almost forget.
It's now the
that-
new.
Yes. So does the laser, is that also something that the laser kind of does? It almost like reminds the body. Is there some similar healing mechanism that it's like almost reminding the body like, hey, this inflammation is no good, or it's ridding the body, or
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
explaining myself well.
Yeah, I don't know that it is exactly doing that, but we do have the term for people like once they get to like the new them, meaning
Yeah.
like you got used to being at a 7 pain level out of 10.
Right.
That's intense. I know when I'm at like a 2, I'm like a baby.
Yeah.
So some people are like at a 7, they're like, oh yeah, I'm just functioning just regularly in the world, but it's horrible pain. So those people that get the great pain relief, with about 20% of the people that come in and they get down to like a 0 or a 1. They're just like, I have a whole new life. Like I can see clearly. I'm like nicer to my husband or my wife or my
Wow.
children or whatever it is. But yeah, when the pain is a horrible thing, as you know, like you're in the same business of helping people, and there's so many different modalities. And in the last 10 years, there's just been newer things that keep coming on the market. And I think we're going to be at a better place in getting rid of the opioid addiction and all that. And they're cracking down on giving out the medications recently. And I feel like that's where we come in, to where it's, no pills, no surgery, no injections, with both of what we're doing.
I love that. So real quick, talk about the laser. It's like I mentioned earlier, there's these red light panels, and I know like the 60 nanometer wavelength is just penetrates the skin more or less, the epidermis, collagen synthesis. And I think 850 nanometers goes deeper into like actually penetrates the bone. Is there a certain wavelength or range that you know of that
Yeah,
this
like the
laser is
810 to
at?
980. So you're right there. So that's the one that's going to penetrate farther. So a lot of people joke around when I tell them I work with lasers. They say, "Oh, can you get my crow's feet or something? Help me out." Sorry, we're wrong wavelength. They don't really know what that means, but it's funny. Yeah, so we're right in that for the pain management part. Yeah. So like I said, the penetrating about 1.5 inches, because it has to. It does go through tissue and bone to get to your cell.
Yeah, and even nerves as well, because I remember like you're talking about the sciatica. You're going along that nerve path, or is that
it's getting close.
okay?
But that's pretty far down.
Okay. And then a typical treatment is about, you said, I think, what, 5 minutes?
6 minutes, yeah. 5, 6, 7 minutes. Yeah, so it's pretty quick. People come in, like I said, about 6 to 8 times. I think you drive longer to get there than the treatment actually is. So people complain about the driving, but I said, do you really want to waste an hour sitting here? Not really. You might as well be in and out and get the rest of your day, going. So it's pretty efficient.
Yeah. That's something not to complain about.
Yeah.
Time is everything, right?
Yeah, so they come in. We do a full pain evaluation in the beginning, so the consultation is a bit longer. After that, we book our appointments in about every 20 minutes. And everyone sees a doctor every time. And then we have the laser tech, and they get asked, what's your pain on the scale of 1 to 10? We have a little chart with happy faces and sad faces. And pretty much they tell us what that is, anything new. If there's nothing new, then we go about, the doctor marks them where we're going to laser, and then we laser away.
Can you do this on kids as well?
We don't do kids. We don't go over the growth plates. And they're just too young in their bodies. We've done some if maybe like a 16 or a 17-year-old athlete, if their parents, sign informed consent, we'll do that. But it's rare. Like, it's not something that we really want to dive into.
Interesting. Yeah, because I was wondering too, for kids, I was treating an 11-year-old using my newbie the other day, and what I noticed is kids are just different as far as how they can explain themselves about pain and ranges.
Yep.
It's just different for them than it is for us. And so I was going to ask you if there was any like tips or any ways that you can get a kid to let you know, like, hey, this is a 5 out of 10, or hey, the laser's really hot, you should probably take it off me. Some kids may not tell you, so I was curious to see if you guys did something like that, but not yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't done that.
Talk to me about the difference, because I know a lot of people that have cold lasers, and when you first told me you were doing this, I thought, oh, this is nothing new, like, big deal. This is, I mean, I know chiropractors and guys that have the cold laser, like, cool, but you're like, no, this is actually different.
Yeah, so it's I don't know much about the cold laser since I use a hot one. It is on a different wavelength. Ours does penetrate the body farther, so there's more surface level. I do agree that the cold laser increases vasodilation, and there's going to be obviously any benefit with that, just like a massage and blood flow and that sort of thing. What I tend to see when I was doing some business development is a lot of physical therapists or chiropractors that had lasers. If it was a cold laser, it was very low wattage. Okay. So the difference with ours is that we use the highest level laser, which is a class 4 laser, and we use the highest wattage that is FDA approved, which is a 60 watt, which just means it delivers the same treatment 60 times faster than a 1 watt machine would. So we tend to see a lot more successes in our patients in a shorter amount of time because it's delivering more joules, which is the amount of energy of the photons that's going into the body per session.
Wow. Fascinating. Tell me about, because I know now you're also, something that I think that's really fascinating that I want to talk to you about is not just pain management, tennis elbow. I mean, that I think is fascinating on its own because you're getting great results. But you were also telling me that you actually shine the laser on people's brains.
Yes.
So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, this lights me up. I love it. So yes, there was a study done about 5 years ago now in Colorado, a very small one, and it was using the laser that we have and the same wavelength, and we shine the laser on the frontal and the parietal areas of the brain, and it's the same amount of treatment. We lower the wattage on this one just because it is the brain and our laser is hot. And
Why the frontal and parietal? I know there's headsets out there, and we could talk about them. There's like a Via Light, it's called, and it shines wavelengths. It actually does lasers. It's gonna be a lot because I can buy one.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a
Oh,
lot
neat.
different than FDA approved. They sell them.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the wattage and stuff is different, but it's shining an 850 nanometer, I think, wavelength at certain areas of your
Yeah.
brain. And their thought is there's one. I think they have two different Via Light headsets. One helps with like Alzheimer's, supposed to help prevent that, and the other one helps with, I think, just learning and like cognitive ability. So, yeah.
Yeah, so those are the areas in PTSD when they do brain scans that aren't functioning properly. So the cells aren't working as they should be. So just like in the pain part of the body, same in the brain, the cells aren't functioning as they should be. So there's very little research that's done. It's not FDA approved on the brain, so it is newer to society. But we feel it's going to be something that's just going to be like anywhere and anywhere where you can get this awesome treatment. So we started about 2.5 years ago. And I actually am one of the laser technicians that works on the brain, on the head, which is really cool. We do practice on the doctor that we work with, and he feels, though we're not studying it, that it's going to also prevent Alzheimer's. So I enjoy it because I can tell people, well, we will shine more light laser onto our doctor's head, about 5 times as much as you're going to get in your whole entire treatment. So I feel confident that
Because he's doing it every day or every other day?
pretty much, yeah. I mean, he's given himself a lot of jewels, and he still functions. So I feel confident that that the laser is good, and it's not going to have any immediate side effects. And we haven't seen any side effects that have been notable or anything big. People often feel fatigue afterwards.
Oh, interesting.
And again, it's a 15-minute treatment. It takes a little bit longer than the pain part.
So that one's longer than just a 5-minute treatment for just
Yeah,
pain.
we turn the wattage down about half or a little bit more. So it
Yeah.
takes 2 or 3 times the amount to give the laser to the head. We're just more cautious with the heat because it is the brain.
Yeah.
So we do about a series of 15 to 25 treatments of the laser to the brain. We've worked on people, for our criteria is people living with symptoms of post-traumatic stress and people living with symptoms of traumatic brain injury. So
TBI.
we did a lot of outreach to veterans. So we've had some veterans that came through, and after a couple treatments, we would do some check-ins with videos. We check in every time, but I have some videos of people saying, oh, I don't know, this is the first week that I've noticed I haven't had a nightmare, and I've had them every night for 3 years. And it gives me
Wow.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like I said, it
that's
is just
after,
a
like, 3
phenomenal
treatments?
treatment. Yeah, so after like 4 or 5, I think is kind of the marker of that
kind
one.
of
And I think the dream center is the parietal part of the brain. A common and all our patients don't see each other, they don't know each other, but there's some commonalities in the interviews that we do. And 2 of the females both had been sexually assaulted, I think in childhood and then possibly later in life. And they both said that at some time in the treatment, I don't know if it was around 8 or 10 treatments, that they said they had a nightmare. It came back, and it was bad, but it was of a scene that kept reoccurring in their head, and they couldn't close the loop.
Yeah.
So they said once I had that, it just kind of something switched in me.
Wow.
So the other things that the laser helps with is lowering anxiety or getting rid of it, depression, sleeplessness, brain fog's a big one. The nightmare is the one that's most fascinating to me, is to someone who's just had nightmares all the time, that you just no longer have them. It's unbelievable.
So they have 4 or 5 treatments. They're getting better, but You guys will continue.
Oh, we
the-
keep
the-
going,
the
yeah. So it
treatments.
is we believe it's an accumulation of the jewels too. So if we want something to stick, that we're gonna go a little bit longer. You also with PTS, people living with it, they tend to have triggers. So that's something that we haven't really dove into to where, which is something that I would love to look into just as Kelly O'Keefe outside of the laser is after you're done with the laser and done with that treatment, what do you do next? Because you still have to work on triggers and you still have to do that part of it. But I think there's something that cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the main therapy right now for people living with PTS,
Right.
is not working, and there's something that it's not fixing. I think it definitely has a place.
I do too. Yeah.
But there's something that we're missing, which we're learning a lot more with neuroscience in the brain and being able to do scans. My goal with what we're doing with the brain would be to have a research study that we do, and it's a double-blind study, which is really hard to do because, you're telling, everyone comes in at a different level, and even you can have tests, and, are the people that get the laser have to have moderate to chronic PTSD based on DSM-5 and all the behavioral tests through there, and we test for anxiety, depression, and suicide. So one of the great things about our treatment is, unlike cognitive behavioral therapy, the person only has to fill out the initial forms and tell us about what was traumatizing to them. They don't have to go into huge detail, but we do want to know if they were sexually assaulted, what age did it happen, and whatever details that they want to give us. And then after that, they don't have to talk about their trauma at all because it's not necessary. It's not necessary to. They're not working through it, talking. We're actually giving a physical response and changing the way that their brain is functioning.
Wow. Two things that came up for me. Are you guys doing or somebody doing before and after brain scans?
I want to be. They're just so expensive, and I looked into it. And we have a nonprofit called Real Care for Wounded Warriors.
Yeah.
And so I do a little bit of development for them. I'm doing it now volunteer-wise, and I went to a couple places that are doing functional MRIs. And there's also a SPECT machine, which I'm just learning more about.
Dr. Amen, I think, does that.
Yes, and he's on my list up in Encino to go see.
He's great. He's great.
And I will talk more about that later tonight. And so I kind of used the nonprofit card, just said, hey, like we're treating people for free. My doctor donates his time. We do a little fundraising too. Is there any way we can, even if it's a discount, I'm not asking for something for free. And I got a no, but
Good.
I always think it's a not yet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I like it.
And what I didn't realize is that the fMRI machine, it's not just going in like getting an MRI and reading a scan and being done. What they actually do is they take the time and they have a set of questions. So let's say it's a veteran and maybe they have nightmares because they were in Afghanistan, were attacked and loud noises and maybe had a traumatic brain injury and all that. They figure out different questions to ask them when they're in the scan. So what they do is they actually get them to the point where they're triggered so they can see how the brain's firing.
Yeah.
And so there's that, and then I guess the way that you read the scan is a lot different. So whoever the radiologist is that's doing it, it's just a lot more time consuming. So I'm like, okay, well, thanks for that fact. Now I just need to find a radiologist. I need to go just maneuver a different way to get that done. And or if there's people with money donating to our cause, or people that are wealthy and maybe it's their son or daughter, and they're like, no, I'll pay the $3,000 each, the before and after, and do that. So everything's money, but they're fascinating.
Yeah. And then also what came up for me are people, do you think they like this modality more? Because I could see them like saying, I don't want to talk to a therapist or relive this trauma, or it's just so traumatic. Is it almost a better therapy? Like, hey, we're not going to have you relive that. We're just going to shine a light on you. And after 4 to 5 treatments, you're going to start feeling better.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great option. One little hiccup or objection that I get is that we have to ask people to shave a little bit of their head. A lot of people don't want to shave their hair. But we need skin for the laser to penetrate, so the hair kind of would block and the laser penetrating. So if someone already has short hair or is willing to shave their head, they're more likely to come get the treatment. And then some people want the research, as you know. They're like, once there's a study, come back and maybe we'll prescribe it. Because I do meet other doctors and psychologists.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of building that. But the people that we've worked on so far, we've actually had a PhD psychologist who came in, and she was bedridden for like almost 3 years. And the laser just gave her like whole new life.
Yeah.
And also another medical doctor. And I think he was in pain management too. And he
Ironic.
would refer people to us that when their epidurals didn't work, he'd say, go try the laser. And then when our laser didn't work, we could say, if you want to try an epidural, you can, go see this person. But it was interesting with him because he had all the access and all the knowledge as a medical doctor.
Right.
And he couldn't help himself. And so he's on his testimonial saying, the laser is the only thing that I could find help me. And I've had PTSD and anxiety for 20 years.
That's incredible. That's so cool because
Yeah.
you're not, if he's giving you a testimony, like that means something.
Yeah.
You said something about anxiety. I know several friends and coworkers that are in law enforcement and just people that have anxiety and panic attacks. Would they be good people for trying out this laser?
Yeah, so right now we are experimenting with people who have trauma and or TBI. So if their anxiety is stemming from a trauma, and I would almost venture out to say that
like
most
all anxiety is coming from some.
it is,
It's not
yeah,
normal,
especially
right?
if you're a first responder. I think you have some level of post-traumatic stress because you're seeing
Yeah.
trauma all the time. And it was interesting. I was talking to a police officer and recently, and they said, you were saying you do work with veterans, and remember the difference, Kelly, is that they're trained just like us, but they go to war and they come back and it's done. They're like,
Right.
we're seeing it every day, going home to our families, trying to process, have to process and learn how to do that. I guess there is some training in the police force to do that. I'm not sure how much, and it's probably not enough, to be honest. And
it's definitely not enough.
But we're almost more affected by it than someone who's serving because we're doing it every 3-4 days a week, or
Right.
however much. So
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that explained as well, and I can totally see that. And it's not nothing to take away from the actual veterans. 'Cause,
Oh, sure.
they
No
see
way.
some real danger.
for sure.
It's interesting though. I think you guys could have a lot of effect, and maybe it's just not right now. Maybe now is not the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about trauma and just some of the things that I've learned through just influencers and some good books, is that a lot of our anxiety and issues and just actual trauma is from like 0 to 7 when we're kids.
Yep.
And it's during that time period that we really that's who we become. The brain is developing, and that we're in this like theta state, and we take everything in, and it's like that's who we become. So I kind of feel like that anxiety then comes up later in life. Now we're adults, we call it anxiety, but we don't know how to actually deal with it.
Yeah.
And we don't. Some of us aren't even aware. Like we don't have the awareness to actually go back and say, why am I anxious? We just assume like, oh, this is just the way I am.
Yeah.
I'm just an anxious person. It's like, no, something probably happened. Maybe not, but a lot of times
Yeah.
from like 0 to 7, when you go back and trace it,
Yep.
it's like, this is probably the trigger. So I think it'd be fascinating over time if that would be an option, because I feel like all trauma is probably coming from, maybe it's not PTSD, right? Like that's severe, but it's coming from something. For people to be on some kind of medication
Sure.
and have these anxiety attacks, and it's just controlling their life, I mean, that to me is trauma.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, it's terrible to live with, and I think they just did some sort of like not a recall, but on Xanax, and like all this stuff came out that it's just so bad for your body.
Well, it's destroying your gut bacteria,
yeah.
and the mitochondria and the bacteria, like they say, that's that gut-brain axis.
Yep.
So it's actually our gut is controlling a lot of our mind, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So they're
Which is
communicating
the
with each
opposite
other.
of what you're
So
trying to do.
if you're putting in crap in your body and it's just taking out the good, healthy gut bacteria, then there's going to be issues. So I didn't even know that, though. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Let me see what else I didn't ask you. Let's check it out. Have you heard of a Power Medic laser? Those are some other guys I know. I mentioned the Via Light. They stick lasers up your nose. These are, I can buy this, by the way. So it's like a little light diode you put in your nose, and then you can put another one on your brain.
Yeah, I don't know much about those ones, but
Okay.
I'd be interested to know like how far it penetrates.
Yeah.
have
I don't know.
I'd have to dive more into that.
And then Power Medic lasers. Those, again, I could buy that. I don't have to be a doctor, FDA cleared. They might be like a level 2 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I've heard people talking about those, and it might be a cold laser, so that might be
Yeah.
the big difference, and you can shine it. And people have gotten a lot of good results, so I didn't know if you had actually heard of that.
Yeah.
one.
No, the low level laser light therapy. There's a lot of research done on that and helping and healing. For us, we see a ton of healing, I believe, just because we're using the higher powered laser
Yeah.
and it's going farther, and we tend to use a pretty good dose maybe a little bit more than someone would use.
Yeah.
But we see really a high success rate with it.
What's the average cost for someone coming in? Does this go covered by insurance or?
Yes, we take some insurances, and the cash price is $140.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. It's like going to get a 90-minute massage, really. I mean, think about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I know, I live in San Francisco and in the Bay Area. You want to go to see a chiropractor, same thing. You might be there for 5 minutes, crack, and it's like $90. So
Yeah.
a couple more dollars and you're getting some long-term beneficial results. It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people can't, they can't.
It is hard for them to pay
It's
for
hard
it.
to
Especially
wrap their
for us
mind
because
around
it's a
it.
doctor, and maybe it's the same with the chiropractor, but I think at the doctor, you're always like, well, if my insurance isn't covered, I'm not going to do it. It's no middle ground.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the way people think.
Even if they have a lot of money. It's one thing if you don't have the money, you don't have the money, but there's some
Right.
people with a lot of money that spend $500 on dinner on a Friday night. That they won't
Right.
spend it on their health with something, take
But
a chance.
screw that frozen shoulder that you can't even lift your shoulder up to pay for the meal, but you wanna go get a $500 meal.
Yeah.
By the way, frozen shoulder, you mentioned that. I think Tony Robbins, I don't know if you heard him talk about it. He had like a frozen shoulder and had issues, and he used actually a laser to heal it too. I can't remember the brand. I want to say it's like a Thera Light. Is there a name or a brand for the laser? Or?
Ours is a DioWave.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's some other one. They make some, I think another one's an Aspen. But
And the
some of them are
DioWave
made
is
in
like
China.
a $60,000 device. It's not something that any of us could just go out and
No, and you have to be a
purchase.
doctor for class 4.
Oh,
Yeah. So physical therapy, chiropractor, MD.
okay. There we go. So
Yeah.
I can't buy one. Darn.
Because they can hurt. I mean, I'm sure it's because you can hurt. But like I said, if you hold it on someone too long, your kid gets a hold of it at home. It's
That
not
might be a
Star
problem.
Wars or, it's not good.
Tell me what has been the most remarkable story that you've witnessed, or maybe there's been a couple.
Oh, let's see. I've had 3 people who came in one time and only came in again to tell us that they were totally healed. And they were maybe like
Wow.
a 5 on a pain scale.
5 out of
And
10.
5 out of 10.
So they weren't
So they
that
weren't
bad.
like huge, but they said I went to a 0. It's like I've been living at this for a couple years at a 5, and I'm now a 0. So that's not often. We don't guarantee people that. That's like the.
And you haven't seen him since.
Small.
Came in once, got treated.
Yeah, and every now I've been there for almost 3 years now, so I might see someone come back, and I'm like, "Hey, are you still? How's your back been? Oh, it's been great. I'm here because I hurt my shoulder doing something." Then they'll get treated,
So something
and
new.
literally
It's
one
a
or
new
2
injury.
times again, a new injury. Yeah, and usually if one body part responds, your other body parts will too, because again, it's helping. It's the cells.
Yeah.
So if you're not responding at all, one body part, you won't respond to another either.
Yeah, that makes sense because the body's connected.
Right.
What about like knees? Everyone.
Yeah,
I
we do
feel
a
like
lot of knees.
everybody has knee or shoulder issues always.
Yeah.
So will you shine the laser?
Yeah, right
Directly
on the
on the
knee.
knee?
Yeah, right on the knee, right on the shoulder. We do a lot of feet. It helps with feet. Yeah.
Why the feet?
Some people just when they have pain.
Like plantar fasciitis, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And the results are
Pretty good. We have a podiatrist that sends a lot of people to us for a lot of patients to us. That maybe she helped get like correct shoes or can't fix. She sends them to us. Yeah, so it's good. And I think another remarkable story. I'd have to say one of the veterans that we worked with, I think it really touched my heart because I was doing a lot of outreach and joined an American Legion and different veteran organizations to do outreach for what we do. And he, you hear all the time like, oh, the VA doesn't really help.
yeah.
And he just really solidified made it kind of shone the light on the issue. keep using the term. I love it. And we also treated his sister, and them both got dramatic changes in their life. They were like focused, could go back to work, like had like
And they were
clarity
suffering from
again.
like PTSD issues.
Yeah, PTS.
Both veterans, I'm assuming.
Yeah, both veterans, and both PTS. And they were just saying, the VA, it's hard to get appointments. They just want to give you pills.
Yeah.
like they were useless for us.
Yeah.
And so for them, it was just very inspiring where they're, so thankful, like for us, and it's not us, it's the laser that's helping it.
Yeah.
We just happen to be the person facilitating the actual equipment. But to watch them, just their whole life change and like not want to commit suicide. And it was just like a huge thing. Because we read things in the paper, the 22 a day, and all that stuff is so true. And I hope to and even be a spokesperson for other modalities, and I've learned about other things too. There's a bunch of stuff out there that's non-invasive to help PTS.
Yeah.
And if people don't want to shave their head, I say go try this. I met with these people; like, they're doing great stuff too. They have great research, and it's non-invasive. You might as well try it. But I think it's getting the veterans to take that first step, and making the commitment to actually get the treatments.
Yeah.
But once they do, it's just powerful. It's
Yeah.
very powerful.
I wonder if this would be a good therapy for like couples or like marriages.
I
You shine lasers on both their heads
know.
and see if they have like a more harmonious
I know.
relationship.
Maybe a different wavelength. Yeah.
I don't know. It just came to me.
New business idea.
And I'm telling you, maybe you go that way.
Yeah.
You just started an Instagram page, and your name is what? It's like No Epidural.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No needle epidural with underscores.
Okay, so tell
So
me
2 underscores.
Tell me why you chose that name. Why it's important.
Yeah. So we believe our laser is pretty much like an epidural, but without poking the skin.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't like needles, or don't want to get steroids and get injections like cortisone or an epidural.
Cortisone. That's
so,
a common one I hear for everybody.
Yeah. So we say, come over and try the laser first. Why not? Especially if your insurance covers it and you have the money.
Yeah, that's
It's really a no-brainer. Yeah. So it is a amount of time to travel. So a lot of people, if they can't make it to our office, but I would encourage other people to look up laser in their area, because there are other people that have lasers. They may not be as powerful as ours or the same laser.
Yeah.
But I still feel that a similar laser could be very helpful for people too.
One of the things I found was fascinating, though, is you were telling me offline that people get in car accidents and they're like, I'm assuming like most of the time you hurt your back. And so that's like the recommended healing protocol, is to get an epidural in your back.
Usually they try chiro first.
Yeah.
And then the next step has always been epidural.
Which I find is fascinating, because I thought that was just something you gave pregnant women when they're giving birth. But you were saying,
Yeah,
no,
they
this
do
is
it
common.
some for pain, but after a car accident, it's actually useless.
Yeah.
And that industry is cracking down a little bit on the epidurals. One, because of the money part of it. So you can charge $10,000 for one epidural. Doctors can give up to 3, and that's just like in regular practice. So not even just personal injury. Like, you don't give more than 3 in a short amount of time. I think like 6 months later, you can give another set. But that's like by medicine law, or like the standard practice.
Okay.
With that, yeah. Yeah, so for us, I tell people right now, like, if you have any people that don't want epidurals or are failing chiropractic or PT, send them my way. I would love to get to the position, and I will, to where they get laser first. Because once the inflammation's down, and if the laser helps, you can still go to physical therapy or chiro if you still have some little issues. But if, chiro and epidural isn't what your body really needs, it just needs that anti-inflammatory that our laser is giving, or that is helping your body produce. It's just a great source for pain relief. And car accidents are no fun. I've been in one before, and airbag came out, and it's awful. I thought it wasn't going to be able to move my neck again. Unfortunately, I think I was 22. I didn't know about the laser. So,
Have you had anything done with the laser on you?
I haven't had any major pain, but every now and then I'll wake up when you sleep funny and you get the kink in your neck.
Yeah.
So I'll get laser when that happens. It's, your body, like, eventually if you don't do anything, your body, you'll go back to normal. So it's hard to tell, but I'm in my mind, I'm like, well, if the laser does help accelerate it a little bit, I'll take a day or 2 less of pain.
Of course.
So I haven't had to, but I did look up. I sent my parents to get laser in Northern California, because they're up here, and my dad got a little bit of benefit from it. My
what did he go
arthritis
for?
in the hands.
Okay, yeah.
And then my mom, it was harder to tell, because she had a fractured wrist. So with that, the laser actually does help with fractures.
Yeah, bone healing, right?
Bone healing,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's another benefit of it. Harder for her to tell. Like, if you broke both wrists, only lasered one, and one healed faster would be really the only way to test that. So,
but she had gotten that much later. She didn't get it right after she broke her wrist, did she?
Not right after, yeah.
Okay.
A couple of weeks though. So.
Tell me, we're going to wrap up here in a little
right.
bit. So I wanted to ask you, who inspires you right now in the health wellness world? Is there anybody or any influencers or mentors that you're following right now that are inspiring?
Yeah, so it's interesting because you just mentioned Dr. Amen, and he keeps coming up in different ways. Like randomly, I could be changing a channel, and he'll be like on PBS or something like that. Like I think he sells a BrainWorks
I've seen him
program
on
or whatever.
PBS.
And I might be looking on something on the internet. I was saying I was looking more into the SPECT machines.
Yes.
And he keeps popping up with that.
I think
And
he's like
just
one of the
other
only ones
areas.
that does it, or he's been doing it the longest, I think.
Okay, yeah, definitely the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know too many people that have SPECT machines. We were lucky that we found that fMRI when we were looking for one for our PTSD and the laser. But he's the one I'm following now. Yeah, I really like him, so I'm excited to learn more about what he does. And hopefully I want to go to his facility and maybe, if I can't meet him in person, meet some of the people that he works with and see what they do, just to see if there's any synergy with what we're doing with the laser to the head.
Yeah, let me know. Maybe I can introduce you to him.
Yeah.
I dated his daughter for 2 weeks when I was
You did?
when I was in high school. I'm
I
just
love
kidding.
it.
I'm just kidding. I did date her, but
Okay.
I don't know if that would be enough of an in for me to introduce you. But who knows? Maybe
great
we can
story.
work on something.
Great story.
Last couple
Yeah.
questions. I'm a big avid reader. Any books that you could recommend for people that you've read that kind of changed your life? Any 1 to 3 books? Some people have more. If it's just one, but
Changed my life.
or that you would just recommend that people. This would be an amazing book. You guys should really check this one out. It doesn't have to be about lasers. It could be about anything.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There's so many. Tony Robbins is one of my favorites. I mean, all his books I feel are very powerful in just changing your perception of things in your body and being self-aware and taking responsibility. I think that's really great because there's a lot of people, even adults, that don't do that. And so when you're interacting in a world and people aren't logical, that's difficult for me. I'm reading a book right now. It's by my friend Bethany London, and it's called I'm going to butcher the name. I think it's Alignment Now, or Get Into Alignment Now. And her subject is being in touch with, like, she calls this like body intelligence.
Yeah.
So kind of like an example would be being in alignment with what you're doing. So if we're just day-to-day decisions, if you're not a hell yes on something,
Yes.
it's a no. So that could just be like someone asks you to go volunteer at your kid's school, and you're like, oh, I don't really want to, but I look bad to the other moms or whatever it is.
Right.
No, you got to give them a no. If like really check in with yourself. And she goes kind of down a path of meditation. She does a lot of that, and just kind of a spiritual aspect of things. I think that's where I am in my life, where I'm kind of getting more in line and tuned, and figuring out my soul's purpose, and am I in alignment with my life purpose and all that stuff too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've been exploring more of that in my life as I've gotten older too, and I've noticed that whole idea of like manifestation and alignment, and if it doesn't align with you, there's really no reason you should do it. I mean, and I think if we just, as we get older, we just realize like, I'm not going to waste time on this.
Yeah.
It's just, there's, life is too short. Why am I sweating things like this?
Yeah.
It's not making me more complete or more vibrant or more joyful or more of a high performer. So just let it go.
Yeah. And when you are joyful and passionate about something, you have that energy, it radiates to other people.
Yes.
And you put more hours in, you're really you're in it 100%, and people can tell.
Yeah.
People can tell.
And they're attracted to that.
Yep.
They see it.
I agree.
What is one practice? This will probably be the last question. What's one, and I'm big on hacks, but it doesn't have to be a hack. What's one ritual or practice that you do daily that you almost think other people should be doing this? I'm almost surprised they're not, because I get so much benefit out of it. And examples I always give is like, typical like gratitude journaling.
Sure.
But it could be anything. And
Yeah. So mine is really simple. It's walking in nature. So
Yes.
I'm lucky enough to live in Santa Monica by a beach.
and it's always like 70 degrees out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's cold up here in the Bay Area right now. And so I go and walk down by the water almost 7 days a week,
That's
whether it's in the
awesome.
morning instead of taking a lunch or at night. And I find that journaling is hard for me. I could do gratitude journals. I can list things.
Yeah.
But to like the feelings part of it, I find mine more in like a walking meditation and just really thinking about things with that. And I like if I get that in, and it's part of it's a workout because I'll go for a while and I'll walk on the soft sand. So I'm I'm getting a good something
Grounding.
cardio or whatever, and
Yeah.
I'm getting grounding. So I recommend that, especially people who are like, I don't want to go work out, I don't want to do anything, but I'm kind of stressed. Just go for a walk, and then you can focus on your breathing when you're doing that too, and pulling all that in. Like I would like to in 2020 though to do some yoga classes though, and really in meditation and learn a little bit more about that, and to sit quietly because I like to be moving, and that a little bit of an excuse where I'll just walk meditate, instead of actually tuning in and sitting and being still.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I know the feeling, and I heard Tony Robbins. Somebody was interviewing him saying, "Do you like to meditate?" And he's like, "No, I don't do this mindfulness crap." And he was joking, but he was just saying like, "I need like the energy. I need to be in a different state. That's what I do. I get in different states." And he's like, "Hey, some people use meditation to do that. I just use different things." So
Yeah.
I think it's all beneficial.
Yeah.
But it has to, align with you.
Exactly. Align. Got it.
Hey, last but not least, where can people find you?
Yes. So Instagram page is probably the best. So it's no_needle_epidural. So it is a little bit long, but I am Kelly O'Keefe, and I'm out in Santa Monica. And the company I work with currently is Laser MD Pain Relief. So Laser MD as in medical doctor, painrelief.com if you want to read some more information on the pain management with the laser and or the pain in the brain.
Amazing. Thank you. And is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish I did?
No, I think we covered everything. It was great. This is amazing.
Fantastic. Kelly O'Keefe on the Hack Life. Love it. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Joel.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the show. It absolutely means the world to me, and I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity. If any of this resonates with you, feel free to go to iTunes and leave me a 5-star review. There you can follow me, or you can follow me on Spotify. And if you're interested in life coaching or health coaching, you can find me at joelevancoaching.com, and I'd love to connect with you there. Thanks, and continue to be amazing.